I'm hopeful, regardless of the outcome. Boost the positive energy without one. Sorry about the jab, I'm on a holy field. I'm bearing fruit, but demons try to eat them like Yoshi meal. I piss them off the Batman like Falcone deals. Jungle full of predators, I know how Mowgli feels. So I got the fire, refuse to live in fear. I can spot suppliers, eating fresh rolls. Call me private label.
Welcome to episode 284 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. So no more nasty letters about, you're a pimp. I'm not listening to you anymore. I say it just about every single episode. It stands for Permaculture is my passion. Want to give a shout out to Renewed Homestead tonight for being our moderators tonight. So as always, don't start no SH and there won't be no IT. And also, this is not going to be a friendly zone, as the shirt kind of indicates right here. Say no to trans-testicle polar bears. Want to give a shout out. I crack up every time I see this doggone shirt. And apparently people are getting a kick out of it. Homesteading Twins, they made this for me. And I want to give those guys a shout out. As always, this episode brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from twooldcrowshomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Not a trans-testicle polar bear. Yeah. Also, Living Soil Foundation. Look, we're trying to clean up Western North Carolina, and so many of you awesome people have donated so much, and we want to thank you for that. And, you know, as soon as this weather clears up, because when it's this cold, we can't possibly go out there and spray. We can't do anything. And so, you know, we're just kind of in a holding pattern right now. But when things warm up, and provided the people we're working with out there don't decide to change their minds, we should be off and kicking. And we're going to show everybody on this planet what the good Lord can do, because what man screws up, the Lord can heal. And we're going to prove it. We're going to absolutely prove it. So in addition to that site over there, we got a couple of other areas where they're more, let me say, clandestine. So, yeah, so we're definitely going to keep you abreast of all that. So, wow, we're going to jump right into the farm news. I want to thank everybody coming in tonight. Please hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. When I say they are suppressing us, folks, you have no idea. Let me just come right out of the gates with this one. So, I put out a short earlier today. I put it on all the platforms, and it was the one about, hey, Trump, you want to make an executive order? It's kind of inspired this show. And folks, you want to stick around for that, because I think you might dig the executive orders I think he ought to put in. In fact, I ought to write them up and send them to him. Basically saying, I mean, you were fit to be tied when you saw them chemtrails, because it started off kind of blue.
It started off very blue. The sun was supposed to shine, and it didn't. Well, it did for about 5 minutes. Then they started spraying, and then it was cloudy.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, I put that video out. I said, break the phone out. I'm just going to go ahead and shoot something impromptu. And that's exactly what we did. Well, check this out. Over on TikTok, that video, I mean, I'm used to being suppressed on YouTube and all the other platforms, but on TikTok, that video right out of the gates had 40,000 views and 1,000 comments in about an hour. Folks, when I say mega viral, it doesn't get any more mega viral than that. Then all of a sudden they sent me, I was like, man, that thing's really blowing up. I had no idea, because I mean, I usually get suppressed over there as well. Then they send this, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay, so I'm going to try to read it to you with these birth control glasses on. Violation reasons. We removed the video because it violates our community guidelines. Your content is against our community guidelines. The guideline rules and standards for TikTok that apply to everyone and everything on our platform. And then doesn't even tell you what the guidelines are. And then it says, okay, would you like to submit an appeal? You have 80 days, and there's no way to submit the appeal. So, folks, you know we're over the target when they're doing this kind of stuff to us. And of course, I'm like I said, we're used to it on YouTube. And then, of course, X. I got, what, 300 subscribers on X, and I'm already shadow banned. We were trying from the very beginning, ever since I did that thing with Dr. Will, they've, I mean, shadow banned me right out of the gates, even though that video went viral, the one that I did with him. So everybody that thinks Elon Musk is the man, I got news for you. It's not just me. It's people like Stu Peters. It's people like Dr. Shiba. There, you know, to a certain extent, people like Mike Adams. Good night. Man, the list is long. I could think of, I mean, if I weren't trying to think of that, I could think of all the people that are being actively suppressed in all these platforms. So, folks, we're over the target. And if you can't find us here, go try us on Rumble. Because, I mean, even the video, the interview I did last night, they took that down. Well, they didn't take it down.
Well, that one was because they played that song that's you're not supposed to. It's if you don't have a license for it, you're not supposed to play it.
But even though it was a YouTube video that they pulled up and played on there, it was supposedly a copyright strike. So they're looking for anything to take us down. But, you know, usually that means a chilling effect for most people. It ain't happening here. I would rather be taken down than somebody dictating what I can and can't say. And I understand this is a private. Now, let me take that back. YouTube and all the other platforms were advertised as public commons, which means I know the First Amendment doesn't really apply the same way. I get that. But unless it's pornography or anything of that nature, you know, I understand you got to take it down. But then all of a sudden they changed the rules. And now I'm starting to realize, maybe the deal Trump made with TikTok actually must be, and sorry to offend all you Trump folks out there, but and I'm not a Biden folk, just so you know, okay? I see all of these people as old boss, same as the new boss. I wonder if the deal he made was, yeah, okay, TikTok, here's a little handshake deal we're going to make behind it. You're going to be a little bit tough on the people that come out hard on me, right? And I wonder if that's part of the deal that was made, because you tell me how that video, that short I did, talking about chemtrails, which I've put up tons of videos like that, never had a problem before, but all of a sudden, like I said, that thing went to have 40,000 views in an hour, unheard of. So that thing, they had to put the brakes on it. So what do you think I'm going to do more of? So, folks, if you can't find us here, if they take us down for some reason, go try Rumble, try X to a certain extent. I mean, if you're not over on X right now, maybe go check us out over there, because I do post stuff that I can't necessarily post anywhere else. I mean, we're on Facebook, Instagram when they're not playing games. So right now it's a crapshoot, y'all. So, you know, look, I'm like I said before, we're going to get back to the videos of showing people how to farm, how to do things. Despite the fact, as I predicted before, that because Trump's in the White House, I guarantee you all of these people that have gone country are going right back to the city. I guarantee it, or they're going into the suburbs. And it happens every single time there's a Republican in the White House, as if that makes a difference. So anyway, yeah, there's a sit rep on that. Was there anything you wanted to say? You were looking at some of the comments here.
I don't know. I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. So the weather out there is frightful just about everywhere. And so just remember that acronym COLD. It's COLD. It stands for keep it clean, avoid overheating, keep it loose and in layers, and keep it dry. Okay. That was one of the things I learned training up in Alaska. And if you can do those things, I mean, when I go outside, I mean, she'll tell you, I mean, even when it was like 6 degrees the other day. Now I know. Yeah, I know. The Homestead twins are up there laughing. 6? Man, that's T-shirt weather for us. And it probably is for those guys. I'm not kidding. Anyway, when it's cold, or at least relative to where you live, if you can keep that acronym in mind, keep it clean, avoid overheating, loosen in layers, and keep it dry. If you can remember that, it's going to save you from any cold weather injuries for the most part. Now, where you might make differences on that is on your extremities, like your hands and your feet. That's where you're going to have to judge accordingly, you know. But generally, when I go out there, I don't wear any long johns. I don't do anything. That's part of my cold therapy. So that's part of how I go about it. I mean, I wear a long john top, but my pants are just the regular pants I wear without long johns or anything else. So you can use it as a cold therapy type of thing, or you can go ahead and put on your stuff. But just remember, keep it cold, keep it clean, avoid over. And that's one thing for guys out there in construction. Look, you're the worst about it. You wear these Carhartt jackets, and a lot of guys think it's cool that it's all dirty and nasty because it shows that you work. Look, I get the point, okay? But I guarantee you, when you get something dirty, part of its insulating capability is its ability to hold the air in between those layers. And when you fill them up with dirt, you ruin the insulating capability of it. So wash your stuff often, even though it may be an outer jacket. It makes all the difference in the world. I'm dead serious. So despite this nasty cold, sheepies are doing great.
Yeah, sheep don't seem to even notice it's cold.
No, I saw them real bad up there in Kentucky one time. Weather was way worse than this, and those guys are like, "What do you want from me?" You know. So they're doing great. Milk Boy did come down with something, and it seems like he still has something. I don't know what that is, but he's been losing weight, and of course you've been trying to fatten him up, and then you've been using also the substance we're not allowed to talk about on here.
Well, we've been using that, but we've also been using, I've been hitting him with everything in the house practically. He started, I don't even know what happened. He never stopped eating, but he lost a little bit of weight. And then the cold seemed to bother him.
Yeah.
So
of all dogs, he was out there shivering and all kinds of crazy stuff.
like we even kept him in the garage for a couple nights because he was just shivering out in the cold, which I mean, I don't know what that's about. I'm trying to put weight on him, but like if you have like Great Pyrenees, they're not food driven. Like it's really a lot of times in the summertime, he'll just skip meals. It's not like Opal, our Labrador retriever, that would eat everything in sight. He's kind of it's kind of hard to put weight on him. So
yeah, well, it's never been this way before. I'm starting to wonder if it's not systemic to some of the other things going on around here. And folks, that brings us to another point. Something that's going to be a little more uncomfortable, but you might want to hear, especially if you live in this region. You think Denise would be okay with me kind of halfway repeating? Denise, who's in the chat right now.
I think so.
Okay, I'll be discreet. So Denise in the chat basically had a vet visit. And as I understand it, the vet said, you know, a lot of animals are dropping like flies. And I'm not sure anybody has figured out what those reasons are, but go back to the video that I did with Dr. Will. So I call up Dr. Will Spencer, and it just so happens he had left this region. He said, man, I'm sorry I didn't get to stop by. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I called him yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I said, or maybe it was the day before. Every day's Monday. But anyway, I called him up either yesterday or the day before, and Dr. Will had just left this region. Now, Michelle and I had met with him at a fire station that was near Lake Douglas. We talked about it right here on this podcast. And we had a sod farm over there that was fluorescent green. You saw it. And in addition to that, these firemen, I was there. This isn't, I'm not hearing this secondhand. We were there in the firehouse, both of us. And these guys had been burned through their, I don't know what suits they wear to get in the water, but they had, you know, to rescue people from water or whatever. They didn't get the water on them, but the water had come up to about their chest where the waders were. And they were burned underneath the suit. They go to the hospital. They give them serotonin drugs of all things. And now Dr. Will just making another visit by there. The firemen that he's treating apparently are all absolutely fine on his protocol. They're doing absolutely just fine. But people within 5 miles of that firehouse are dropping like flies. And I mean, when I say dropping, I'm talking dead. Like DED, you know, AD. Okay, I grew up in Oklahoma.
You went to Oklahoma schools.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, DEAD. Yeah, I do know how to spell. Anyway, he told me, yeah, there was 9 deaths, I think, in the last month within 5 miles of that firehouse, where all these rivers converge down in there. And that's just what he knows of. And we're having a lot of animals that are perishing around here. We're having a lot of people that are sick, but they're unwilling to even consider the fact that what they dropped from the sky during that hurricane, or what came out of the river or came upstream, who even knows? Because it's not like the government's doing or is taking any measure it all. It's having to be done. Every single bit of this has to be done at the ground level, and that's where we come into it. That's where the Living Soil Foundation comes in. So, yeah. So I don't know if Milk Boy's a casualty of some of that, but I'm going to start using some of the other protocols that I heard John Richardson talk about, because apparently you can use it on dogs.
Yeah, I gave him some. We're also giving him Dr. Will's liquid stuff.
Yeah. It's just odd. I mean, it's very, very odd. I mean, he's not driven by food, and yeah, I understand it's cold, but you know,
he loves cold weather.
Yeah, I mean, the colder it gets, I mean, it's like the more active he becomes. So this is very unusual. So, and it could be a combination from the things that are constantly dropping from the sky. And I'll bet $1 to donuts, there's not a single person in this chat right now that isn't witnessing it, because I'm getting people emailing me from all over the country, all over the world, really. I mean, you name a corner of this earth, and people are sending me pictures of what their skies look like, and they look exactly like ours. So if there's anybody that's not seeing it or hasn't seen it, please put it in the chat so I can figure out how we pack up and move there, because I don't know where that is. But anyway, they're spraying like crazy. I mean, it is absolutely a mess. And we're wearing these red glasses for the biohacking reasons and for a whole lot of other things. Okay. And folks, I am spending as much time as I can afford to do it, because we wear a lot of hats, looking for every single edge I can to beat all of the toxins they're throwing at us. And this is part of it. I kid you not. The more I examine the work of Dr. Jack Cruz, the more I'm realizing that these blue lights that they have all around us are deleterious to our health. The time we spend indoors, I mean, I'm a farmer, so I try to spend as much time outside as I possibly can, but I'm also a businessman, so I got to spend time inside as well. So we're trying to bridge that gap, and I'm looking for everything I can, folks, and I'm going to try to get people on the show that will help you. I mean, maybe some people come on here and what you think they say is hogwash, but if you can take one thing out of what they're saying and apply it to your life, especially if it doesn't require a whole lot. I mean, things as simple as getting enough sleep. You know, that's what that was, as far as the chinks in my armor, y'all, that's always been my worst one. And I'm getting better at it. And I'm going to keep getting better at it. So, because I'm feeling better when I do. So anyway, other things we got going on around here. I'm late doing it, but I've been pruning like nobody's business up here. Now, when you have a deciduous tree, the best time to prune is when the leaves come off. It depends on what you're wanting to do, though. Now, if you have a tree that's a little too active, now I've said this before, I think it was on Patreon, but I don't think I've ever said it on YouTube before, so I'll say it here right now. If you have a tree that is very, very robust and it's like too active, you want to prune that thing when it's vegetative, okay? But if you want to stimulate growth in your tree, you want to prune it when it's dormant, when all the sugars are down into the roots, okay? So I'm late doing it, but it's still okay to do. So if you're late getting around to your pruning, and if you want to look at some of the videos that we've done before, I've talked extensively about it, and you'll have to go to the YouTube channel if they haven't banned those videos yet. Other little biohacks that I'm doing, and I'm going to share one with you today. It may not be a big deal to a lot of you, but I'm like I said, I'm looking for every little edge I can find, every little thing I can do, and I'm going to let y'all know as I go. So one thing I've been doing as of late is working. It's kind of frustrating, but I'm getting better at it, and I'm trying to talk you into doing it. And you need to tell everybody whether or not you're doing it, and that's working in 20-minute blocks.
I'm the one that told you about that.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, somebody right here in the chat
told you at the beginning of the week. Listen, this is what I said. I said, I have been working, like, I will set my timer. Don't look at me like that. I set my timer for doing computer work, 30 minutes. I stop doing it, and then I go do something. Then I go do like something physical, something active after that.
Settle down, Shaniqua. I'm trying to tell you, I discovered this a while back from somebody that actually
before me
emailed me, and I've been doing it for a while. You didn't tell me about it. I found out from, look, there's some lady out there saying hopefully you come up in the chat and vouch for me, because you were the one that told me about it months ago. So I said, okay, let me start trying to do this. So I've been trying to do it for a couple of weeks, and it can be a little bit aggravating, but it keeps you, just by doing that. I don't know if it works this way. This is what I wanted to try to, before you decided to get all ghetto on them, brother. I thought I was going to point out the fact that it keeps you from being sidetracked. Is it working that way for you?
Yes. I told you that. I told you at the beginning of the week. I set my timer. That way I know I have 30 minutes. I can't get distracted by anything, which is really bad when I'm sitting at the computer. That's where I get distracted. Then an hour later, I don't even know what's going on, because
William got it from.
I've been like pulled in 50 different directions.
So you're saying
if I
William
sit
got it from you, right?
Oh, please.
Yeah, because when he was little and you'd say clean his room, you go in there.
Of course, he's a kid. He didn't want to clean his room.
He'd be in there, and I'm like, son, you ever going to get to it? And he's in there like going through this box, I mean, for hours. And okay, so we know where he got that from. Okay. No, I mean, it honestly keeps you from either procrastinating, if you have a tendency to do that sort of thing, or being sidetracked. It's easy to do when you do anything on the social media platform. Put that timer on and say, look, come hell or high water, when that thing goes off, I'm getting off this thing. So I'm finding out that I'm 10 times more efficient by doing that. But I'll tell you another little biohack that I got from Dr. Andrew Huberman. Okay, so when you're working out, this is going to sound so counterintuitive, y'all, but I'm telling you it's working. I said before that I'm memorizing, as I get older, there's other things that I'm concentrating on. Like right now, I'm learning Spanish, and I'm memorizing the entire book of Psalms. I know everybody has a recoil when I say that, but dreams must be implemented with deeds, okay? Which means you got to put in some work. And yeah, just for anybody, yes, I'm learning Spanish. It's through one of those apps, and I've learned all the important stuff up front, like all the cuss words and stuff like no, none of that stuff. But really and truly, I'm finding out that, and this is another little tip that I got from Jack Cruz, which led me into Andrew Huberman. And check this out. Huberman said that if you're doing any kind of physical activity, your ability to learn is heightened. And I was like, okay, let me give this thing a shot. So instead of memorizing, let's say, a verse a day or whatever, I found out that when I was doing this, and I was like, it's one of those things that's so counterintuitive, I wouldn't even allow myself to believe it. And as I'm working out, I kid you not, instead of that one verse, I ended up memorizing 2 or 3. And I was like, whoa, what is up with this? So I've done it over and over and over again. So folks, if you're doing any kind of physical activity, let's say you're going to rebound or you're jogging or whatever the case may be, if you can try and do some sort of, if there's something you need to memorize, this is why I love acronyms. Like I told you about COLD, C-O-L-D. If you can learn things in acronyms, you can learn them quicker or associate them. I mean, there's an entire course on this from Jim Quick. I mean, it's really good stuff. I mean, speed reading course, the whole 9 yards. But when you do that, you can learn at an accelerated rate, and it seems to me counterintuitive, but it works. And folks, I'm here to tell you, I've been kind of chomping at the bit to be able to tell you this for the last 2 weeks, but I've been interviewing people all the time. So, yeah, what else do I got here? Yeah, so I basically covered everything in the farm news right now. Once again, folks, if you're new coming in right now, hit that thumbs up. Tell them to go ahead and start suppressing us, because that's what they do. All right, this Saturday, Ben and Denise have coordinated another event at the church, and it's going to be at 15 Cane River Church Road in Burnsville, North Carolina. 15 Cane, C-A-N-E, Church Road. Boy, I'm making a real mess of this. 15 Cane River Church Road, Burnsville, North Carolina. And it's going to be from 10 to 2. It's going to be a potluck. And no Hooter Bandits showing up throwing a sack of weed on the table thinking, well, I brought my pot. Good luck. Yeah, none of that. Ask me if it's ever happened before. I'll have to, one of these days, if I can ever have a truly whimsical episode, I'll talk about all the practical jokes I've done. We've kind of done that before. But
Talk about, yeah, I think we got sidetracked one time.
yeah, but anyway, that was one of the practical jokes. There was a potluck at a Channel 9 in Oklahoma City. I was working there and they had a potluck. And so they were talking about it for a while. And I got a bunch of celery seed and some, what was it, parsley?
Something parsley or oregano.
Parsley, oregano, or something.
No, I think it was parsley. You can smell oregano.
Yeah, parsley. I filled up an entire Ziploc bag and I threw some zigzag wrapping papers in there, slipped it up on the table when nobody was looking, and everybody's going through the chow line and they're kind of getting whatever. And all these little hoity-toity news anchors and reporters and everything, they look down and they see that and they all like recoil a little bit. And then finally there's some Hooter Bandit cameraman that comes rolling through. He kind of looked left and right and snatched that fake bag. I've done that with a couple of times. But anyway, that's going to be out in Burnsville. And yeah, it's look, there's no rock stars at this thing. It's just everybody kind of, similar minded people just getting together saying, hey, what's up? I mean, the last one was great. It was a wonderful time. And Shane won't be out there with the truck this time, I don't believe, but he will be there. And Ben and Denise from Renewed Homestead will be there. We'll be there. And all of you are invited. So bring something, and it better not be whacked. So
what are you making?
I thought that was your department. Well, it's more like brunch. I mean, so
no, it's not. It's 10 to 2. That's lunch.
That's brunch, kind of, except it just ain't on Sunday. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of like brunch.
I don't think we should be discussing this. Is not our area.
Whatever it is, I know whatever you produce is going to be ballin'. So yeah, look forward to seeing everybody there. Also, Wave Watch. If you want one of those ballin' watches, they got that new design out there. Billy 100 will get you $100 off of it. And then later on, coming up March 18th through the 22nd, man, you talk about shadow band. Jax is putting on, it's from Shalom Temple, they're putting on that 5-day immersion event with Barbara O'Neill and Jonathan Otto. Jax, of course, she was on the program before, and she'll be back again. I'll be there. Mike the Fit Farmer is going to be there. We're going to be doing workshops. Folks, you talk about, I mean, this is why I suspect, and hopefully this comment doesn't get me banned, but I don't care. I'm just going to say it. I suspect that the next big thing is probably going to be health related. You want to know why? Because anything that we talk about health related on here, or things that we've talked about ad nauseum in the past, are all of a sudden being shadow banned. Typically, you put up Barbara O'Neill anywhere, and that video, everybody wants to watch it because she knows what she's talking about. She's going to be at this event, and they are doing everything. When I say they, look, I don't know who they is exactly, but we'll just call them the powers that shouldn't be, are basically doing everything humanly possible and non-humanly possible probably to screw up this event, to not put butts in seats, to not get people involved. Well, just email Jax. You can go to the website, go check them out. You got it linked in the show notes, right? Or you'll have it linked in there?
I will.
Yeah.
Also, she's doing a
group discount?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, group discount. So reach out to her for that to get details on that. So if you got a church or a firehouse or I don't care, a group of whatever.
Yeah, it just has to be 10 people or more.
Yeah, so if you got a group and you want a group discount, get with Jax at the website. Unless she tells us some other way to, unless Jax is out there watching right now, maybe she wants to chime in on the chat. But yeah, that's going to be March 18th through the 22nd. Like I said, you got some serious rock stars in this place. And this place ordinarily would probably have been sold out right now, but the powers that shouldn't be don't want you to know about it. And just like all the other things that are health related around here. So after that, May 2nd through the 4th, mountainreadiness.com, they're going to have their event. And folks, this is where, like I said, it's the best homestead preparedness event you have never, ever, ever heard about. I guarantee it. And you're going to have everybody from Delta Force, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Force Recon, Army Sappers, all of it under one roof. And it's not like one of those testosterone events. They have classes there that you will not find at any other homestead event. And everything practically is hands-on. Bear Independent's going to be there. In fact, I think I just found out Pat Miletich, former UFC world champion, is going to be there. And I think he's going to be doing a workshop on showing somebody how to how to strangle somebody with your bare hands. So yeah, Pat, he's probably going to stay here at the house with us when he comes out. But yeah, UFC world champion, man. This guy's trained all the special operators on the planet. And I think he might even be bringing his other half to do the class for women. So yeah, Michelle, don't think you're going to be putting somebody in a rear naked choke up in this place. So Redemption Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Michelle actually has her bare feet on it right now. Well done, my dear. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Nothing.
Something smart?
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, Redemption Shield, go to redemptionshield.com. Wait, not $50 off, 10% off with promo code PERMA. Boy, I'm about to get this. She's about to like, you're fired, boy. $50? What are you telling these folks? This thing doesn't even cost $50. So anyway, yeah, Redemption Shield, 10% off with promo code PERMA. All right, so we're going to get into the good news. And we definitely, okay, Michelle, she insisted. She's like, did you already do the good news section?
Yeah, because Billy, your good news is not good news.
Okay, go ahead and fire away. What's you started off.
Okay, hang on a second.
Why are you?
My eyes are all messed up.
Okay,
so community praises contractor for free construction work since Hurricane Helene. So Jake Jarvis with Precision Grading Construction and Demolition has been working for free, just accepting donations only since Helene hit, completing tens of thousands of dollars of work in construction, demolishing homes, building bridges, and clearing river crossings. So he's been doing all of it just donation based only for everybody. He's been doing a lot of work in Batcave, just trying to get everybody back on their feet since Hurricane Helene hit.
yeah, that's the superhero in my book, y'all. It's a lot of those unsung heroes that are still doing this kind of work right now, and they're not getting any help. We aren't getting any help, folks, despite all this nasty weather. Despite all this nasty weather, there are still tons and tons and tons. Look, I'm trying to avoid doing any idiotic, gratuitous videos where I go out like there's one clown. He doesn't even live around here, but he's constantly rolling up in here with his camera because he knows if it bleeds, it leads. So I live here. I can literally go 10 minutes from my home and I can take you to places that look like downtown Baghdad. But I'm not doing that with any regularity because I know the gratuitous vulgarity that occurs on YouTube. I mean, look, folks, I'm just going to keep it real. Half of these big channels you hear about, they're frauds. They don't even do what they say they do. Okay. I know this for a fact. I live here. And a lot of these people roll in here, they get their camera moment because they know that it'll put butts. But I'm going to have to do that from time to time just to show everybody that this place still is a flipping mess. I mean, we got debris piles in some areas 20 feet tall that have not moved a millimeter since they were put there.
And Irwin, like the last time I drove to Johnson City, driving through Irwin, everything you cross. No, you don't cross. Do you cross the river going on the interstate, or does the river just run beside the interstate?
Runs alongside.
So the river runs alongside the interstate, and that was where it was hit the hardest and where the plastics plant was. And all of the trees, mountains of plastics still in piles alongside the interstate.
Yeah.
None of it has been cleaned.
You go down I-26 and folks, I mean, up there like in Irwin, it is still, it's like the needle barely moved. I mean, there are places near us and we're in Mars Hill and there are places near us. I mean, I can literally take you to places that are minutes from here and it'll absolutely floor you how the state of that place looks. I mean, even right now, but somehow we got billions to send off overseas to go murder people. But somehow, okay, you know what? I'm gonna stand back a little bit, and before I start criticizing too heavily, I want to see what's going to happen under this new administration regarding this. I mean, there's already things going on that I'm almost certainly not going to be a fan of. But folks, what's happening right now with these people still living in tents when you got 6 degrees out here? This is unconscionable. This is unconscionable. I mean, it is an embarrassment. I had a friend reach out the other day, says, you know what, man, I am really seriously considering moving out. We have record numbers of expats leaving this country, going to places like El Salvador. And people say, well, you can't change it overnight. Kelly changed it overnight in El Salvador. That's why they're getting on the first thing smoking out of here. So it can be done. There just has to be a willingness to do it. But sadly, we live in the United States of amnesia. I mean, as long as everybody has a working iPhone, I'm starting to wonder if, I seriously wonder at this point if starvation is the only antidote. All right, so we'll get back to the good news. I don't know how I ended up making that bad, but you brought up the article.
The article was good news.
Yeah.
And also, I'll put links to his, if anybody wants to donate to him, I'm going to put a link to his information because he's been living on his savings getting this work done.
Well, I got solutions here that could get this guy all the money he could use and more, because it's selfless people like that I absolutely love. All right, so check this out. Here's a good one. Backlash against lab-grown meat inside and outside the U.S. signals growing resistance to fake food. How about that? So bottom line is nobody's wanting to eat crickets.
Or lab-grown meat.
Lab-grown meat. Even these lunatic trans-testicle polar bears are not even trying to, well, I don't even think a polar bear full with any of this stuff. But even those people are even saying, I think I'm going to pass on that. So, okay, here's one that really made my day because, I know some of these people that were affected. Trump vows to reinstate troops discharged for refusing COVID-19 vaccinations. Okay. That is not only needed because, number one, I mean, and you know what? I think they ought to be brought back in with back pay.
Yeah.
With interest.
Yeah.
I think they ought to be brought in with back pay and interest. And honestly, I don't know how that would work in the rank. I mean, if they lost rank or whatever the case, or
well, they for sure would be behind because they've
lost 4 years of service.
Right.
Yeah, or 3, whatever the case may have been. So you know what? That makes my day. Both of us are former soldiers, so we can resonate with that. And honestly, maybe push out some of these people that are going to be yes men. Because it was in fact, it was at the last, I was talking to a guy who is an active duty. This was at the last mountain readiness thing. And this is one of the cool things there is that there's so many active duty troops out of Fort Bragg where you got Delta Force and 7th Special Forces Group. And there was a guy from 7th Group, Green Beret. Me and him hit it off great. And he was a major, and he was about to be, I think, a lieutenant colonel, and he was seriously considering going into Delta Force. So, which is like the elite of the elite. Anyway, he's telling me that you could have knocked me over with a feather when he said this, but he says, man, he says, I really want to go to Delta selection, but I'm seriously thinking about getting out. And then he kind of him-hawed around. I kind of, pushed him a little bit. And then he says, look, man, I'll be honest with you. He says, nobody in special ops that I know would do it. But he says, I have no doubt that the troops that we have in there by and large today, if given the order to fire on American citizens, wouldn't even bat an eye. And this is coming from a major from 7th Special Forces Group. Okay. A major from 7th Special Forces Group telling me this. And I think he was on the cut to make lieutenant colonel. So he's telling me this, and that was why he's considered getting out. So that's why getting all these good people who aren't going to be yes men, yeah, they'll follow orders, lawful orders, but they're not going to go out here and, smoke somebody if commanded to. And then plus, it was kind of cool to know that so many of these guys that stayed in, they pretended like they got the jab, but they didn't. And, yeah, I'm going to give a hat tip to all those folks. Anyway, I got some other ones here too. You know what? I'm just, I usually do 3 good news things, but anyway, I'll go ahead and cover this last one because I think this is good news as well. CNN to lay off hundreds of workers amid cost-cutting measures due to dropping ratings. Okay. The only complaint I have about this article is that They're not telling me that it's MSNBC, Fix News. Yeah, if you think Fox is fair and balanced, folks, I got news for you. Sean Hannity, for crying out loud, for years wore a CIA pin on his lapel, telling you who he's bought and paid for. All the rest of them over there, I mean, I hope the whole thing crashes. And sadly, there's a lot of folks still hanging on to Fox News, and I don't know why you would. I mean, like I said, everybody over there is bought and paid for. But they create the illusion of choice. So with that said, do you have Eric plugged in?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, I was going to go to Eric, but I guess we ain't. So we're going to go right into the main topic. But before we do, EMP Shield $50 off with promo code PERMA. Look, things go sideways. You're not going to the club. You're going to the house. We're going to your bug out location. Either way, you ain't going to be clubbing when things get stupid, in my view. But anyway, the coolest thing about all their products over there is that the one for the house, which I absolutely love, any transient voltage surge suppressor out there, they give you no guarantees at all. But EMP Shield feels so strongly about their products, which is why I reached out to them to be a sponsor on this show, like I did with all the other sponsors on this show. Look, they don't solicit me, y'all. I go to them when I know their stuff works. So they're going to cover you for 25 G's if anything gets Kentucky Fried downstream. So that's what I'm talking about. All right. So let's get into the main topic here. All righty. So Trump's been issuing a bunch of executive orders. Okay, y'all, I'm not even going to lie about it. Most of them I absolutely think are fantastic. I'm sure given enough time, go read The Prince by Machiavelli, okay? And I think that's what you can expect. It's not all bad in The Prince, okay? People hear Machiavelli and you've been told to believe that it's bad. No, it isn't necessarily. But I think that's exactly the template you're going to see unfold before you. So he's in here throwing out all these executive orders, but I'm thinking, man, I sure would like to throw a couple in there, some that are a little more important, some that are a little more impactful. And I'm going to go down this list. I made a list of 10, but I got an overflow list. And after I was done with the list, I was like, oh man, I forgot this, I forgot that. So in lieu of making this show like entirely too long, I'm going to kind of break them down. And folks, tell me if you give me an amen on some of these executive orders. And okay, in fairness, some of these would actually have to be laws through Congress. There is a difference between an executive order and a law. Okay. But I think you get the point.
Shouldn't they all be laws?
No, I mean, well, executive orders
aren't we in a situation where one president comes in and does a bunch of executive orders, and then the next president comes in and they just completely undo everything that the last president did with executive orders, and we're kind of not following the proper procedure here. To me, it's looking more like dictatorship than it is.
Yeah, and you can blame Congress for this all the way back to FDR, but where it really got off the rails is under Obama. And folks, once again, I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm not blue state, I'm not red state. It's the state against you. That's why I'm saying all you people that are on this Trump train or Obama train or whatever train you're on, it's like that Who song, old boss, same as the new boss. That's honestly how I see it. And I will bet dollars to donuts that I'm going to be proven correct on this. But like I said, he's done some good things so far, things I totally agree with. But is this pablum for the American public? Because I'm starting to suspect that it might be, because there's some things in here that should be a little more important. And to your point, the reason why we have so many executive orders and they're getting away with this is because Congress largely made themselves irrelevant under Obama. You absolutely did. You made yourselves irrelevant when you're ruling by fiat. That's not exactly how this Constitution is supposed to work. And in fact, folks, read the doggone Bill of Rights. If you read the Bill of Rights, it is it is straight up telling the government what they are not allowed to do. And that's why when somebody says, well, it's my First Amendment, the only amendment it seems like most Americans know is the Second Amendment. Yeah, the right to bear arms. But most 9 out of 10 Americans do not know that the First Amendment actually covers 5 things: freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to assemble peaceably and petition the government. I mean, it's all right there. I mean, we should have learned this stuff in school. But of course, I grew up in Oklahoma,
So you can't spell.
yeah.
Like the Homestead Twin said, it must have been one of those Southern schools.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how it went down. So let me just bust down this list, and y'all tell me, give me an amen in the chat, or tell me if you think I'm all wet, that these should not be, not necessarily high priorities, or maybe the highest priority, depending on what they are. So I'll start off. So I got a list right here. Okay, it's a long list, and like I said, I had to basically put the brakes on it because it was getting out of control. And I was thinking, okay, this show can't be 10 hours long. Okay, number one, and I wrote this one first because I was still aggravated from them taking down that viral short that I made on TikTok today. Like I said, it had 40,000 views in an hour regarding chemtrails. So number one, I'm a farmer. And there's other farmers in this chat. I saw some of them go by. You know what? To farm, I need a freaking planet, preferably one that's clean.
And where the sun shines. We kind of need the sun too.
Got to have that. And it can't always be filtered through barium salts, aluminum powder, and all the other junk that they're dropping through there. So, yeah, so that probably shouldn't be number one, but I think Dane Wigington would probably argue, Dane's a friend of mine, he would probably argue that it does need to be number one, and I think there's certainly a case for that. Okay, there's a place I know you can put in an executive order because there was no law put in for anybody to even start chemtrailing. So anyway, and then in addition to that, everybody involved in that program needs to be thrown in the hoosegow. Everybody. This stuff coming out of the back of these jets is not natural. Bottom line. All right, number two, abolition of all nonviolent federal crimes. Okay, if it's a crime, let the state handle it, okay? We don't need to be throwing people away because we have a for-profit prison system. Didn't know about that? Yeah, find out where most of Michael Jordan's money is invested these days. Folks, it should be repulsive to everybody in the sound of my voice, the fact that we have profitable prisons. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Also, if you look into the state of Pennsylvania and how corrupt, how they've ruined, like especially kids. There's this one county ruining children's lives. I mean, and this is just one state. The state of Pennsylvania is one of the worst I've ever heard of. But yeah, for-profit prison systems needs to go.
You got to stay on the mic, honey, if you're going to talk. Abolition of all like I said, that's number two, abolition of all nonviolent federal crimes, all right? Number three, end civil asset forfeiture. How is it when a person gets arrested, the feds can roll in there and take all of their property? Half the time, they're putting it up for sale in the sheriff's auction without due process. How is that legal? And without conviction. They're rolling in here, stealing people's property. Okay, that needs to come to an end. Holler if you hear me in the chat, y'all. Or tell me if you totally disagree. Number four, end all foreign aid until Americans are squared away. And I mean all of it. I don't care if you're in Timbuktu. I don't care where you are. I don't care what the situation is. You know what? How unthinkable would it be for me to feed your family out there when mine isn't fed? I'm an American, Jack. And at the end of the day, we take care of our own before we even think and consider foreign aid to anybody, and I don't care who that anybody is. All right. Number five. Okay, this is going to be controversial, and I want to give a hat tip to Dr. Shiva because I actually lifted this one from his X page. End all dual citizenship for federal office holders, and I mean all of them. I don't care what. Okay, some of you are going to say, I love blah, 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 whatever. I don't care what country you're from. If you are not an American citizen and an American citizen only, you are not allowed to be in Congress. You are not allowed to hold federal office. You're not allowed to be in the cabinet. You are not allowed to be anything. It sure is funny that nobody has a problem with, if somebody was a French American citizen, they'd have a problem with it. If somebody was a German American citizen, you'd have a problem with it. Pick any country on the planet. But there's one country in the Middle East where if somebody has dual citizenship there, completely okay. Nobody even bats an eye. And you know what? The lobbying arm, APAC, they're not even supposed, they don't even have to register as a foreign agent. How is that even cool? I don't care where your loyalty lies, but at the end of the day, you should not have dual. Teddy Roosevelt spoke about this extensively, okay? That you should not have, you're either an American, not a hyphenated American, you are an American. That is it. Otherwise, you don't hold any office, you don't hold any cabinet position, you don't hold any of that stuff. Number 6, demilitarize local law enforcement. And what I mean by that, we should not be looking at local police. Okay, for example, go to any European country. Look at their cop cars. They're brightly lit, signs, symbols all the way around. They look very different from any other vehicle around it. You know what you won't see? And they're there because the idea is to protect and serve. Oh, no, not here in the United States of amnesia. We got blacked out Mustangs or something else that blends in so they can do some of this for-profit policing, okay? Or they got MRAPs out there. We got military hardware on the street with local law enforcement. That needs to come to an end. If it got so bad, that's what your National Guard's for, okay? It's called the Posse Comitatus Act. We should not have military on the streets doing police work. And I'm not cool with that. Number 7, abolish all federal land ownership. Okay, this thing with the Bundy Ranch should have never happened, because if I was running things up there, all this federal land, first of all, the only land they are entitled to, look at the Constitution, is right there in D.C. That's all the land you get. That's all you need. Okay, if we have military installations, there might be an argument made for that, okay? But that needs to end immediately, all right? Abolish all federal land ownership where they tie up this land and they're throwing people in jail for grazing. Are you kidding me? Grazing, and they've been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. So that needs to come to an end. And now this is not going to make some farmers happy, but Jimmy cracked corn, and I don't care. Jimmy could be smoking crack, and I still don't care. End all corporate and farm subsidies now. End all subsidies. Because whatever you subsidize, you get more of, okay? We wouldn't have Monsanto running things the way they do if we weren't subsidizing it, okay? So all of those things, you would let the free market reign if you would end all subsidies. And don't get me started on, everybody wants to talk about the welfare mom, but nobody wants to talk about the warfare banker. Huh, didn't know that? Didn't know corporate welfare would dwarf social welfare? Yeah, go look it up. Go check it out. That's what burns me up about the Hannity's on Fox News and the Bonginos out there. They'll talk all day about the welfare mom, but they don't tell you about the welfare banker. And look how much we're subsidizing these people. So if it crashes, it crashes. That's what happens. That's what happens in a free economy. All right. So number 9, wait. Yeah, I got that. Number 9, dismantle the Federal Reserve. That probably should have been number 1 or number 2. I get it. All right. Dismantle the Federal Reserve. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island. All right. And he had some other contemporaries that wrote things similar. One of them, Eustace Mullins. Check out, just go to a search engine, put in the name Eustace Mullins, and look at all his work. Nobody's done more work on it. Everybody talks about the guy that wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island, but Eustace Mullins was the first one to come out with it. And before he died, guy was a freaking whiz. So check out his work. Absolute formidable autodidact. And he was basically the first one to break that out there. The Federal Reserve, we are paying private. First of all, it's not federal to begin with, and they have no reserve. Tell me something. Somebody logically explain this, because nobody seems to know how. How is it? I want to see this balance sheet of the entire world. If every country is in debt, then to whom is it owed? That's a rhetorical question, because it's made up out of thin air. You can't have nearly every single country in debt. On a balance sheet, for me to owe you money means you have to have that money, okay? So it's not an honest balance sheet. They're making this stuff up out of thin air, and they're charging us to print their money. These are private institutions, y'all. There is nothing federal that's about as federal as the Federal Express. There is nothing federal about it. It is the biggest scam since 1913. Well, it's one of the biggest scams. That needs to end immediately. So number 10, withdraw every single American troop from every overseas base and shut them all down. Oh, that seems crazy, does it? If it seems crazy to you, then you might want to re-examine your thinking, because I'm going to tell you this. Tell me we're not an empire. We got 900 military bases in 130 countries. That, by definition, dwarfs anything the Roman Empire ever dreamed of. I'll say that again. 900 military bases in 130 countries, and you're telling me we're not an empire? How much money goes into that? You know, Kennedy, JFK, before they blew his head off, you know, I think it was his speech at the American University. And he says, you know, we don't seek a Pax Americana, meaning a Roman. Okay, the Romans had what they called the Pax Romana, meant the Roman peace. And what Kennedy said, we seek not a Pax Americana enforced on the world by American weapons of war. I think that's a direct quote. Anyway, that's exactly what we became. And that's exactly what he was pulling us out of. 900 military bases in 130 countries, and you're telling me that we're not an empire? Bring those people home. If you want to put those troops anywhere, put them on the frickin' border. Have them do what they're supposed to do, guard our country. You could even downsize if you brought them home. We don't need to extend our power all throughout this globe, okay? We can do it through commerce if we had an honest system, all right? You know, exactly what YouTube isn't. So, anyway, I got a few more. You know what? I got
a few more.
Well, you want me to go ahead and cover these right quick?
It's up to you.
Okay. 11, legalize all decentralized currencies. That's right. Legalize, there should be some competition out there. What's wrong with that? Number 12, disband of all federal regulatory agencies. I'm talking like the DEA, the ATF, the EPA. Do you have any idea how commerce would swing just by not having, just not even having it? And then number 13, which I can't even believe this wasn't in the top 3, was abolish federal income tax.
Yeah, that was my number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Abolish the income tax. 10% flat rate. You don't need any more. And if there's no agencies, you definitely don't need it. And while you're at it, I would be, what I'm saying, I would be okay with a 10% flat rate income tax. We don't need all these 3-letter agencies.
Well,
and while you're at it, no more property taxes.
Bam.
Cut those too.
Yeah, because you never truly own anything. I mean, don't pay your property tax to see what happens. But yeah, that federal income tax, folks, there's a documentary every American should have to watch. It's called The Road to Serfdom. I think that's what it was called. It is designed, I mean, first of all, it's right out of the pages of the Communist Manifesto. So, you know, another thing I would also put in here, I don't know if you could do this by fiat, but I would insist that Congress, because I've passed all these things as president, well, I'm going to insist that every congressman, every senator, every judge has to wear like NASCAR uniforms with like little patches all over them. And the bigger the patch, the more money they took from that. First of all, I get rid of lobbying altogether. It wouldn't even exist. And certainly not the way it goes on right now. K Street would be bankrupt. They would have to wear patches, just like Jesse Ventura said, you know, like NASCAR drivers, all over their suits and business suits, whatever the case it is. They would have to wear all these things showing exactly who owns their butts. And they would have to wear them 24/7. So I guess that comes out to about 15, I guess.
Well, I got another one.
Okay.
Release the unredacted Epstein files.
Okay. Bam. I'll see that and raise you a Kennedy files. I want to know who really killed Robert F. Kennedy.
And then when this whole P. Diddy thing is done, if he lives, release those files too. Because I'm sure there's a crossover from Epstein.
Now, folks, if there is anything in any of what we just talked about here, holler if you hear me. Tell me in the chat, because honestly, you're going to tell me a farmer from small town North Carolina can come up with something like this, but the president of the United States of Amnesia can't? Come on, folks. I didn't just step out of the cotton fields. I mean, This stuff doesn't change because they don't want it to change. And like I said, this is why I'm saying no matter who's in office, I mean, if I were in there, obviously, even as a congressman, they would JFK me, or they'd do me like Traficante, or James Traficant. I think it was in Ohio. Yeah. So, I mean, there is no way, no how I would ever get elected to public office, and I'd probably reject anything they would accept me in anyway. But I think I'm going to have to probably pursue some of this stuff on the local level. I don't have the time because honestly, one of the big things on this list that I know that I can really make a difference in, and I think all of you can too, is honestly this garbage they are spraying from the flipping sky is burning me up to no end. More importantly, because I can't get the average Joe to look up there. You want to know who killed Kennedy, but you can't even look up there in the sky and see that this stuff, it comes to the ground. Jack sent me a text the other day. They were smelling all kinds of crazy chemicals down there, down in Boston, smelling laundry detergent over to Ben and Denise's house. And we can't get people to look up there, but you want to know, and it's aggravating. So I'm thinking at some level, maybe I don't know where it might start. I mean, I don't know, maybe use whatever leverage I can to run for, I'm going to, first of all, lean on the people that represent me in my district. And on a state level, I'm going to try and get, as soon as I get some running room here, which it doesn't seem like I have any, the first thing I'm going to try to do, and folks, I'm encouraging you to do the same exact thing, is where I live in North Carolina, I am going to be the worst nightmare for some of these folks that are in office. I am going to drop everything I can concerning these crap they're spraying from the sky. Now, Tennessee passed the law, but it hasn't changed anything because I can't remember what the elevation is. But to a certain elevation, it belongs to the state. And then, as I understand it, as it gets higher than that, it belongs to the feds. So they're spraying at an altitude that's clearly being done at a federal level. That's why I'm saying if it's being done at a federal level, then obviously the president could do something about it. And nobody's going to give me this garbage. Oh, well, he doesn't know about it. Oh, the president of the United States of Amnesia doesn't walk outside. He doesn't look outside. And before he became president, didn't look out there and say, wow, because clearly he's old enough. I remember, look, y'all, I said it in the last podcast that I did last night, and I'll say it one more time. There was a phenomenon that happened right after that engineered hurricane that hit my home here in Western North Carolina. For at least 21 days straight, it was the bluest blue you have ever seen in your life. And even when you think you have a blue day right now, it's not really blue. It's still got a slight mist out there because it was so blue, it was on another level. And when we were over at Ben and Denise's house doing the barn raising, I took video of it. You can go back and watch that video. It's the bluest blue you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. When we first moved here, you could look at the mountains from you could just, they're in the background. They're always in the background. You could look at the mountains and you could see they were blue. Some of them are called the Blue Ridge Mountains. You look at them now for the last, I don't even know how long, at least couple of years, there's this haze. They don't look the same. There's this haze. Even now, of course, in the summertime when it's humid, you're going to have a little bit of a haze, but you shouldn't see that it shouldn't be like that during the other times of the year. And it's been like that consistently for the last couple of years.
Yeah, nonstop. And so anyway, I mean, this list, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things on here, but there's things I can't act. And I'm looking at this list and I'm like, okay, where can I make the biggest difference? All right. The number one, it's like being on a target range and you got a 500 meter, thing pop up and you got one at 50 meters. Well, you shoot at the closest one. Okay. You shoot at the closest target. And this is one that I think I can hit and something I think I can rally support for. So if we get enough states coming forward on this stuff, and everything I said on here is absolutely important, but mark my words, I want to see how much of this you're actually going to see in this administration. Like I said, what he's done so far. Okay. Yeah. Pretty good start. Now get rid of this crap that's floating around in my sky because it's getting people sick and it's getting animals sick. And And it seems like, well, it's like that charlatan said, no amount of evidence can shatter a faith consciously based on a lie. And it seems people are content to be stuck in the matrix. But this is where I'm going to work on it. And worldwide debt forgiveness. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, why not? They did it for all the big banks. That's one of the, if anybody has anything else you want to throw in there, please do. Worldwide debt forgiveness. Yeah, they call that a jubilee, right? So instead of the bailout for Wall Street, how about the bailout for Main Street? How about, okay, first of all, your tax money ain't doing anything. They print it anyway. So why are you taking my money? Why are you stealing my money when you're going to print it anyway? So you don't need a IRS. You don't need a Federal Reserve. You don't need any of these things. We need honest money. And I say just burn the whole thing down, the financial system. No, I'm dead serious.
I didn't know what you were referring to at first.
No, well, yeah, that could be misunderstood or not. But no, I'm talking the financial
William
system.
Zegley wants to see your shirt. You got to show him your shirt, the whole thing.
Yep. Just figured I should say it right up front. Say no to trans-testicle polar bears.
Just in case you were wondering.
Man, I'm going to wear this thing in Asheville. I'm going to make a video. Honestly, one of the things, I know this sounds weird and it might even sound stupid, but one of the things I really want, it's on my bucket list. One of the things I really want to do is stand on a corner when it warms up a little bit, wearing this in Asheville and panhandle for money. Or I'm going to hold up some signs like absolution of your white guilt, like 1675 or something. And then, donate all the money to something that really matters. But no, I really want to do this sort of thing just to, as a social experiment. I've been telling you about this for years. I've been wanting to do it for a long, long time. Well, wow. Let's see what else we got here in the chat. All righty. Property tax outlaw. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if I said anything that anybody finds a bridge too far. I thought for sure. I mean, certainly somebody out there is going to say, yeah, we should have dual citizenship. And I'm like, okay, well, that should apply to every nation then. I'd like my dual citizenship in these same places that we extend it to them and allow me to run for public office in there. You know what? They would never allow me to do it, especially if I'm a Christian, which I make no bones about the fact that I'm a blood-bought soldier of Christ. So these same places that we extend this open door to do not allow us to do it there. So, yeah. And honestly, like I said, all these people that, K Street, look, I'm beating a dead horse at this point. Look, y'all, I want to thank everybody for checking us out tonight. I know it seems a little bit of a departure from what we would typically do concerning, when it's Michelle and I in here. But it just seemed like it made good sense to do this right now because, like I said, yeah, there's some good executive orders going on right now. But, okay, if I can come up with a list that's better than the ones we currently have, I think we ought to go for it. All right, y'all, thank you so much for checking us out. Blessings to you and yours. And by the way, y'all, pray for each other and pray for us because we pray for y'all. We do. We really do every single night. All right, y'all, thank you so much. Until next time, stay alert, stay alive.
They don't want the individual, just a carbon copy. You spitting that manicotti, yeah, I'm talking saucy. All they want to build is a prison world full of pet Tamagotchis. Like a kamikaze, got me out of body like I'm Goku SS3. They want to push me to the center like a cell. They want to swing up at the center of the nexus. Me. They want me to